If you're over 30 and you're still making these 5 mistakes, you need to know you're destroying your body 10 times faster than you're building it. And the worst part is most of the guys making these mistakes think they're doing the right thing. They train hard, they eat clean, they get decent sleep, but they hit a plateau. Their body stops responding, and year after year, well, it's the same physique in the mirror and it's not changing. And if you're here today, it's because you don't want to be one of them. Because these 5 mistakes, I've made them too. And I'm going to explain exactly how to avoid them. Not with some motivational fluff, but with concrete, actionable advice that 99% of guys don't know about. And make sure you stick around to the end, because mistake number 5 is the one that separates the guys who are still making progress after 40, after 45, from those who are already washed up at 30 or 35. Alright, let's get started. A lot of people just copy the programs they see directly on YouTube, Instagram or TikTok. So they start training 6 days a week, 2 hours a session, doing PPL splits on repeat, and they think that training more equals training better. And I made the same mistake, back in the 2000s. Yeah, I know that was a while ago. There was no social media back then, so I just blindly copied the programs I saw in magazines at the time, like Le Monde de Muscle, Muscle and Fitness, Flex, all of those. And the problem isn't necessarily the volume. At 44, I still train 5 to 6 times a week, using intensity techniques like rest poses, drop sets, clusters, and so on. But the difference is that I have a system built around it and my life is organized around that, around training, recovery, and nutrition. And I'm a pro, it's my job, I've been training for 30 years, but if you just copy the volume without copying the lifestyle that goes with it, well, you're going to burn out. No 8 hours of sleep, no stress management, an inconsistent or so-so diet, 0 scheduled recovery days. So if you're also copying the 23-year-old YouTuber or TikToker who has no kids, 0 responsibilities, and you're 40, you have a stressful job, you have kids, you're sleeping 6 hours a night on a good day, and you want to apply the same stimulus, well, know that you're not going to build muscle, and worse, you're going to destroy your nervous system. At 30, the problem is never the stimulus. You can stimulate a muscle in 12, 16 sets, easy. But the real issue is recovery. At 20, you recover in, let's say, 24 hours. At 40, believe me, it's more like 48 to 72 hours minimum. And it's not linear. 6 intense days without a system creates a cumulative fatigue deficit week after week until you just stop. So the question you need to ask yourself is, are you sleeping 8 hours, managing your stress, and is your nutrition on point? Okay, then 5 days a week of training, why not? But if you're sleeping 6 hours, have a stressful job, and your nutrition is just okay, then 3-4 days max, and you'll actually make better progress. Volume isn't your enemy. Volume without a system adapted to your life, yes, that is. So build the system first and then you can increase the volume, but not the other way around. The second mistake is even worse than the first. It's the total rest of a Sunday on the couch. That's not recovery, that's just inactivity. At 30, your body needs movement to live. It doesn't need to just stay on the couch eating peanuts and watching Netflix. There are 4 types of recovery, and most guys, they only use one of them. Your central nervous system, it's kind of like the conductor of an orchestra, and even if you're not doing squats or deadlifts, every intense session with advanced techniques, drop sets, partials, slow tempos, all of that is going to tax your nervous system. So know that you don't necessarily have to lift super heavy to fatigue it. It's the density, the intensity of your workout that will determine the neural load. That's why I never do 2 intense sessions in a row. I alternate between a more nervous session, let's say, and a more mechanical or metabolic one to allow the system to recover. The result is I maintain a high level of performance, but without burning out and without accumulating fatigue. The second type is muscular. Your muscles need 48 to 72 hours to rebuild. But muscular recovery isn't about doing nothing. It can be walking for 20 to 30 minutes, doing some mobility work, massage, foam rolling, or even a short active mobility session. This will promote blood flow and accelerate regeneration. Next, there's the hormonal type. After 30, your hormones are more fragile. Your cortisol rises more quickly, and your testosterone is also slower to come back up. You accumulate stress from work, from training, from daily life, and in 2 to 3 weeks, your hormonal profile can completely collapse. So what I do is every 6 to 8 weeks, I try to plan a week of quote-unquote hormonal restoration. So I keep the same mental intensity, but I'll reduce the volume a bit by 30 to 40%. I sleep a little more, I try to move a little more, but I ease up on the pressure. As a result, the hormones rebound and you can start again stronger and without a crash. Next is the systemic type. So that's everything related to tendons, ligaments, inflammation, the immune system. All of that, in fact, regenerates much more slowly as well. And you destroy them when you push without ever letting up. So today, I try to program my recovery just like a workout, with the same level of priority. Because after 30-35, recovery, believe me, isn't a luxury. It's 50% of your results. The third mistake is placing your cardio at the wrong time. Now again, cardio isn't your enemy, but 90% of guys use it incorrectly. Now, I did it for years, especially HIIT cardio during my competition phases. So sprints, circuits, all-out interval training. It was useful at that time because everything was calibrated. My nutrition, my recovery, my hormones, my sleep. But after 35-40, the context is completely different. Your body doesn't recover the same way, and your baseline stress level is often much higher too. Now be careful, the problem isn't HIIT itself, it's not the cardio, it's how you do it and how much of it you do. If you place HIIT or intense sprints within 24 to 48 hours after a big, heavy weightlifting session, well, you're going to slow down your recovery. You're going to inhibit protein synthesis. And your body will then switch from construction mode to more of a destruction, or let's say endurance mode. And when you're over 35-40, well, your cortisol will rise much faster, and most importantly, it will take longer to come back down. At 20, if you do say 35-45 minutes of cardio, of HIIT, you might recover within the day. At 40, your cortisol stays high for another 8 to 12 hours. And constantly high cortisol destroys muscle, stores fat, and it kills your testosterone. On the flip side of HIIT, if you do too much long, moderate cardio every day, 45 minutes to an hour, as I sometimes see, at a medium intensity, that can also hurt you. You fatigue your nervous system, you lower your metabolism, and your body will eventually adapt to this moderate cardio. And over time, well, it will burn less for the same amount of effort. So cardio, it's all about balance. And today, I try to keep a much simpler approach. So for starters, I try to get my 10,000 steps in per day, sometimes 20 minutes of moderate cardio at the end of a session, or on the weekend if I'm not training. And that's more than enough to maintain my conditioning without impacting my recovery or my metabolism. The key is to try to separate the stimuli. Weight training is the anabolic stimulus, cardio is the energetic stimulus. And you want them to complement each other, not sabotage each other. And what I especially try to prioritize is NEAT, which is your natural expenditure, so walking, moving, just living. That's what makes all the difference after 30. And it's true that 8 to 10, 12,000 steps a day with some strategic cardio and real consistency, that really makes a difference. The right cardio at the right time, with the right intensity. It's not the HIIT that destroys you, it's mainly using it at any time without respecting recovery. The fourth mistake is having a nutrition plan that's completely disconnected from your hormones. After 30, your problem isn't just calories and macros, it's mainly your hormonal system. Because you should know that your testosterone drops by 1 to 2% per year after age 30. Your insulin sensitivity decreases, your cortisol stays higher for longer, your thyroid slows down, and most people keep eating as if they were still 20-25 years old. But if you really want to improve all that, there are a few pillars to correct nonetheless. First, carb timing for insulin sensitivity. After 30, your insulin sensitivity is better at certain times, in the morning and especially after your workout. So that's when you should place most of your carbs, and the rest of the time, try to stick with protein plus fats and fiber-rich vegetables. Next, it's quality fats. So, egg yolks, fatty meats, fish, avocado, olive oil. You should know that your body makes testosterone from cholesterol. So if you don't have enough fats, well, you simply won't have hormones. So you need a minimum of 30% of your total calories to come from fats. The third important pillar is critical micronutrients. The thing nobody optimizes. You can have the best, most perfect macros, but if you're deficient in key micronutrients, then your hormone production collapses. The most important micronutrients after 30 are, above all, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, K2, iodine, and selenium. And 90% of guys are deficient in at least 3 of these micronutrients. The result is, well, their testosterone is suboptimal, their thyroid is slow, their cortisol is high, even with perfect training. For my part, I do 2 blood tests a year and I try to correct, rectify, and improve each time. 4. Protein timing. You should try to maintain a high protein intake, but especially with smart timing as well. So yes, 2 to 2.5 grams per kilo of body weight, but it needs to be spread out over 3, 4, or 5 meals with a minimum of 40 to 50 grams per meal. Why? Well, simply because after 30, your protein synthesis per meal caps out lower than it did at 20. Maybe at 20, you could absorb and actually use 60 to 70 grams of protein per meal in a single meal, but at 40, maybe 40 to 50 grams is the maximum. and the rest just becomes extra calories. So more meals, more moderate portions for optimal distribution. Next, there's calorie cycling. Your body adapts to a chronic calorie deficit by lowering its testosterone and thyroid hormones. So the result, well, obviously your metabolism slows down and you stop making progress. So what should you do? Try cycling your calories. 5 days of a moderate deficit, minus 300 calories for example, 2 days at maintenance or in a slight surplus, and all of that will keep your hormones relatively high. It will prevent metabolic adaptation, and it will allow you to lose fat without destroying your hormonal system. Your nutrition must support your hormone production. It's not just about eating clean and hitting the right macros. And if you want to go deeper on this, I've also put a complete guide in the description to boost your testosterone after 40. So it's in the video description, it's free, download it, it's fundamental. It's what I apply myself and what I also teach to all my students. Fifth mistake, confusing discipline with stupidity. Now this is the one that cost me the most, because it's true that we're taught from a very young age that discipline is about never giving up. In fact, I say it often, never give up, no pain, no gain. All champions are forged in pain. And that's true at 20, at 30, when your body can take it, when you recover in 24 hours, when your hormones are at their peak. But after 35, 40, there's a fine line between pushing intelligently and destroying yourself out of ego. And most guys cross that line without even realizing it. As you know, I've had a herniated disc since I was a teenager. It was genetic, again, not directly caused by training. And for years, I refused to have surgery because I was too afraid of the operation. I just didn't want to. So I continued, I tried to adapt my training around it, I worked around it until it became unmanageable with constant blockages, permanent pain. Then I had no choice. In December 2017, I had to have surgery and I got out of the hospital in March 2018. At that time, I had lost almost 20 kilos of muscle because, well, I was simply bedridden, I wasn't eating, I was on an IV, and I couldn't even turn or move in bed or even sit on the edge of the bed for the first few weeks. So obviously, when you no longer have nutrition or the ability to move, well, you lose muscle. And what I learned from that experience is that there's a huge difference between adapting intelligently and ignoring stupidly, between pushing with a strategy and pushing out of ego, between discipline and self-destruction. So this is what I'm using now, the 3 types of signals. So green signal, meaning we continue to push. It's a little uncomfortable muscularly during the effort. We have muscle soreness for 24 to 48 hours after training, a normal fatigue after training that disappears with rest. So that's normal, we'll continue, there's no problem. Then there are the orange signals where we will try to adjust immediately. That is to say, we have joint pain during training or after training. We have sleep that is disturbed for 3 nights or more. We have a drop in strength, 2 consecutive sessions or more. We have a fatigue that doesn't go away even with rest, a sudden drop in libido. All of these are signs that really need to be taken into account. So what do we do now? A 50% deload. We add recovery, we monitor. So deload, it can be a whole week where we reduce not only the volume of training, the intensity, we might even reduce the number of workouts until we have fully recovered. And then we get the red signals. So we need to stop immediately. So here, for example, it's a sharp, acute pain during a movement. Pain that persists 48 hours or more after training. Visible inflammation, swelling, pain that prevents us from sleeping, loss of range of motion as well, for example. So that's it, stop, off to the doctor. It's not just a matter of going, I will finish the week and then we'll see afterwards if it's okay. No, the thing is, your ego inevitably will always tell you, come on, it's nothing, I can continue. And your body tells you, stop. Maybe at 20 it might work, but at 40, if you listen to your ego instead of your body, you're really going to pay the price, and it's not going to be in a year, it's going to be now. Because after 30, 35 years, injuries accumulate quickly, but unfortunately, they also heal much more slowly. Tendinitis at 20 years old, it can heal in 2 weeks. Tendinitis at 40 is more like 3 to 6 months, and I know what that's like. So what I try to do every morning now is calculate my resting heart rate. And if I see that I have 10 more beats per minute than usual, it means that my nervous system is tired, that the quality of my sleep is disturbed. And if I also have, let's say, 3 nights in a row where I don't sleep well, where I don't recover well, then it's an instant deload. I'm really reducing the training, the workload. I'm adjusting my training. Maybe I'll take an extra day or 2 off too. But in any case, I advise you to do a deload week at least every 12 weeks maximum, where we will do a volume of less than 50%. We're going to try to reduce the intensity a little bit, reduce the overall volume a little bit. This is not something optional. It is really something mandatory if you want to last in the long term. I also advise you to have blood tests done at least once or twice a year with total and free testosterone, cortisol, thyroid, so TSH, T3, T4, vitamin D, vitamin B12, all the markers of inflammation too, CRP, all that. And if there is something that is not up to standard, we must try to correct it immediately before it becomes a real problem. Zero ego in the gym. If there is a movement that causes pain, it must be modified or removed, but you must never go beyond joint pain, never. So you really have to listen to your body on this. There's no competition, no physique that's truly worth your long-term health. At 20, you can sacrifice your health a little for some gains. Your body will take it. At 40, you're really sacrificing your health and you'll end up losing both. So all this to say that true discipline is first and foremost intelligence, it's not ego. And that's really what you need to remember. These 5 mistakes, I've made them all. And if I was able to correct them, it wasn't by getting stronger, but by becoming more clear-headed. So as a reminder, the first mistake was volume without a recovery system. So first build the system around it and then increase the volume. The second mistake is passive recovery instead of active recovery. So really try to schedule your recovery just like your training. The third mistake is the wrong cardio at the wrong time. Separate the stimuli well and also prioritize NEAT as we discussed. The fourth mistake is nutrition that's disconnected from your hormones. So really try to optimize the timing, the fats and the micronutrients. And finally, we saw the fifth mistake, which was confusing discipline with stupidity. So really listen to the signals, zero ego. So now the real message isn't train less, it's train smarter. So yes, I train 5 to 6 times a week at 44, but that's because I've built the system that allows for it. I've been training for 30 years and it's my job, it's my passion. You too can make progress at 30, 40, 50, but only if you adapt your body to your life and not the other way around. If you want to know if your hormonal profile is optimal or if you need to correct certain parameters, know that I've created a complete and free guide to boost your testosterone after 40. It's a simple plan based on over 30 years of experience, so you'll find it in the video description. You just have to apply it and you'll see that in a few weeks, you'll start to see real results. Because in the end, the reality is, it's not your age that limits you, it's your lack of knowledge about your own body. So learn to know it and believe me, it will pay you back 100-fold. I hope this video helped you. If it did, leave a little like, subscribe, and then share it with a friend over 30 who needs it. At 44, I'm in the best shape of my life. It's not by chance, it's more by intelligence. And you can be too if you stop fighting your age and you really start to use it as an advantage. Experience, wisdom, patience, all of that, it beats youth every single day. So we don't give up, the best is yet to come.